Well, good morning, everyone. And once again, welcome to another live this morning. And nice to have you come on with us and say hello. And we appreciate you guys joining us live, the ones that can, of course. Brahim, there you go, buddy. Numero uno this morning. Let's see if Mike is right behind you. Hold on. Andrea, Niagara Falls, number 2. Janice, how are you? Brampton. Good to have you on. Mike must have missed the turn somewhere. Sandy, Fergus Falls, Minnesota. John, how are you? And I think that's Rosalinda. Louise, how are you? Eric from Rome. Jeanette, how are you? Carol from West Virginia. Kevin from Oshawa, good morning. And I think that's Georgie in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Wendy, Markham, Arlene, how are you? Joni, how is you? Marl from Ottawa. Donna, Park Hill. Sandy, Chilliwack, British Columbia. Jeanette, good morning. Adeline, how is you? Wanda, Virginia. Carol, Moncton, New Brunswick, good morning. Francis from Vaughan. Karen, Coldwater. And I think that's Deb. Sherry. And Catherine. And Bonnie, Little Britain. Lori, Niagara Falls. Monica, Selkirk. And Star, how are you? Gary. And Jeanette saying hello to Rosa, not to me. Nellie, how are you? Rita from Wasaga. And Judy, New Brunswick. Cynthia. Cindy. Brenda. Frances Marie. Cynthia from Chelmsford. Yvonne from PEI, good morning. Nancy, always in the clouds. Nick from our staff. Diane, Ottawa. Gloria, New York. John from Elgin, Illinois. Guylaine from Hearst. Miramichi, Heather. Tina. And Fran from Orangeville. Good morning, Fran. Judy, Manitoba. And Sue, Manitoulin Island. And was that Milika? I don't know. Sandy says I missed her. Bev, Saskatchewan. Hold on. I can't see. Dave, it goes up into the clouds, guys. Linda, okay, 2 more. Cheryl says I miss her all the time. And Rita, good morning. And Cecilia from Shediac, Nouveau-Brunswick. Bruno from North Bay. Carol, her Medicare birthday. Barbara, I don't understand that one. Lisa, Joanne says I keep missing her too. I don't mean to, guys. Dorothy, I really don't. Marianne, hi again. Samuel. Oklahoma City. Donna, good morning. Okay, now, I don't know if you guys have seen the headlines or not. Okay? I don't know if you've seen the headlines or not. But President Biden has a cancer moonshot. He calls it a cancer moonshot. $150 million, new dollars, for research into cancer with the idea of eradicating cancer by 2050. Well, I hate to be negative. I know the intentions are good. I hate to be negative. But listen to this, okay? This is a new research article that came out And it says this, okay? Researchers looking at meta-analysis, looking at all the studies and predicting going forward on cancer in men. Just listen to this one. Researchers say that there will be an 84% increase in cancer rates and a 93% increase in cancer rate deaths among men by 2050. The president says, let's get rid of cancer by 2050. Let's get rid of it. And researchers looking at all the research, looking forward, they're predicting, this one in men, that cancer rates will go up 84%, and there will be a 93% increase in cancer rate deaths among men. Well, which one is it? Which one is going to win? The $150 million in research? Looking for love, in my opinion, in all the wrong places. Because what they're doing for cancer research, okay, generally, 99% of it is spent on treatment of cancer and detection of cancer, not prevention of cancer. So in my opinion, I agree with the researchers and not President Biden. Okay? It's not political, guys. It's a fact. Because we're looking for love in all the wrong places. And let me say this, okay? By the year 2050, let's stick to that year, okay? Let's stick to that year, 2050. 50% of the population are projected to be obese in the United States by 2050. If we don't turn this ship around, guys, you can't fight cancer strictly by spending money and throwing money at research that has nothing to do with food. Never mind the environment, but just, can we spend some money looking at ways of preventing cancer? Not just treating cancer? Because if you think there's a magic pill out there, you know what? I got land to sell you, swampland in Florida. Now, again, maybe not a bad idea to buy it. Everybody's moving to Florida. No, but guys, listen to me. Okay. This is another study. Okay? This is another study. It's called Why Obesity Rates, Cancer Rates, and Heart Disease Are Through the Roof. Right now. This is going to come together. Okay? Why is obesity, cancer rates, and heart disease through the roof? Here's what they're saying. Because we've had a 50-year failed experiment. Okay? We replaced animal fat with vegetable fat. And they're not vegetable fats, really. Okay? Hydrogenated oils, PUFAs, polyunsaturated fatty acids. Okay? I'm quoting this article. We've had a 50-year failed experiment with food. Replaced animal fat with PUFAs. We talked about that last week. We've refined wheat okay? Whole wheat and all this and that. People have bought the lie. So we've refined wheat, devoid of nutrients, very high in carbohydrates, blast your insulin through the roof. And we've replaced sugar with high fructose corn syrup. A 50-year experiment in food where man thought and thinks they're smarter than God. They think they're smarter than nature. So what do? We said, let's get away from animal fat. And even today, you talk to 90% of the more than that, cardiologists. They would tell you to replace your butter with margarine. Margarine, my friend, your body don't even know what that is. It doesn't know what it is. Your body wasn't made for margarine. Your body was made for butter. High in vitamin A, high in vitamin K2, high in beautiful saturated fat, satisfied fat. Butter. Oh no, we're smarter than God. So what are we going to do? Eat margarine. And cardiologists said it. Nutritionists said it. Dietitians said it. And the world went stupid. We've been on a 50-year experiment. And let me tie this in. Because as long as we continue this experiment, we don't have a chance in heck to fix cancer. We don't have a chance. Talk about a moonshot. We don't have a chance to fix cardiovascular disease. We're winning the war on nothing, guys, when it comes to your health. We're not winning the war. We're losing the war. And, I know politicians, they mean well. Let's throw money and research into, let's get rid of cancer. Well, President Nixon did it too in 1974. Let's start a war on cancer. Sounds good. Who likes cancer? Everybody wants to win the war on cancer. But then they don't talk about food. They don't talk about it. So what happens? We're in a worse spot. Because this article on health is saying, look, here's what, okay? Why is obesity, cancer, heart disease worse than ever? All three. Obesity, okay? We went from, in 50 years, we went from overweight people being under 15% of the population to over 70%. Now, I didn't say this, the statistics bear it. Obesity, half the population will be obese. But I'm not talking about that here. Part of it is, it's overweight, just being overweight. We went from 15% of the population being overweight, not obese, under 15%. In 50 years, over 70% of the population is overweight. We went, again, these are not my statistics. We went from pre-diabetes, okay? You know what pre-diabetes is? I don't like the term personally Because I don't really believe there's any such thing as prediabetes. Okay? I really don't believe that. Because at the end of the day, when you're fully diabetic, according to medicine, you've been diabetic for a long time. Now, they don't say that because they rely on numbers. But they rely on the wrong numbers. Because they're interested in blood glucose. I'm interested in your insulin. And it's not easy to get doctors to worry about insulin and insulin resistance. It's hard to get them going because you're all right. You're a diabetic. Now, if your blood sugar is going up, they'll go, well, you're a pre-diabetic. You really are a diabetic already. But let's go along with them for a minute and say pre-diabetes. Listen to what this 50-year, where we changed the oil, where we changed the wheat, highly refined, no more protein in it or very devoid of nutrients. We changed the oil. We changed wheat. And we changed high fructose. We changed the sugars. And what has it given us? Listen to this on pre-diabetes. We went to less than 5% 50 years ago to over 50% of the population. Even the world out there admits now that 50% of the population is pre-diabetic. It's really higher than that because you know and I know that 93% of the population have trouble with metabolic syndrome, which is what? Characterized by elevated blood sugar, okay? Still normal, but high normal. Elevated blood pressure. Listen to this statistic on blood pressure. I read it yesterday in a new study. It says 50% of adults over the age of 40 in North America have high blood pressure. 50%! If 50% of the population over the age of 40 have some form of high blood pressure, man, we are in deep trouble when it comes to heart disease. How are you gonna win the war on heart disease if 50% of the adults over 40% have high blood pressure? My word. And high blood pressure is a metabolic thing. It's part of metabolic syndrome. So you got high blood sugar, even if it's in normal limits. You have high blood pressure. You have high triglycerides, low cholesterol, low HDL cholesterol. Those are all signs of metabolic syndrome. Belly fat, okay? And what we talked about yesterday, uric acid. I put it in there. Years ago, I put it in there in metabolic syndrome. And we talked about that yesterday in gout. Gout is a major health concern. Now, you can have high uric acid and not have gout. But I'll tell you what it means. You have high levels of inflammation, 1. 2, why? Inflammation is not Houdini. Why does that come? Because of high circulating insulin. Insulin resistance. Imagine that. Imagine that. And it's part of metabolic syndrome. Okay? Now, doctors only look at uric acid when they think of gout. But most people with high uric acid levels, they don't have any symptoms of gout. Some do, but most don't. They don't have pain. They don't have gouty arthritis, but they got high uric acid. And what is that telling us? They got high levels of uric acid. The kidneys can't flush it out. The kidneys are overwhelmed. And one of the byproducts, and this is why I talk about this all the time, of uric acid is fructose. We switched the sugar. We went to high fructose corn syrup, the sugar of choice, the deadly sugar, the toxic sugar, the antichrist of sugars. I named it that years ago on my radio show. The antichrist of sugars. Man thinks they're smart. Man thinks they're smart. And we've been on a 50-year experiment, and the politicians want to get rid of cancer. Okay. Can I tell you where that $150 million is going to go? It's going to go to pharmaceutical companies so they can do research on trying to find a drug to get rid of cancer and cancer treatment. Well, cancer treatment's not going to get rid of cancer. Cancer prevention. We got it all wrong. We got it all wrong. Okay. So 50% of adults over the age of 40 have high blood pressure. Do you think we're going to win the war on heart disease? Okay, what other headlines did I got? Okay. 50-year experiment. The cancer moonshot. It's going to be a failure to launch. How's that? That's what it's going to be, guys. It's going to be a failure to launch. You can throw all the money at it. That's what politicians like to do. Throw money at things. And the problem is they're not talking about prevention. When it comes to cancer, they always talk about detection and early treatment. Well, let's talk prevention. Well, we do on this program. Okay. Let me give you a couple of more here this morning. Well, let's stick to obese children, okay? Because this is a new study on obese children, and they're much more susceptible to, okay? This is a research article. Obese children, we already talked about obesity being through the roof and the dangers of it. And here's what this article is saying. Obese children are much more susceptible to asthma, okay? Asthma, diabetes. Imagine, children, type 2, adult onset diabetes. Imagine, in children. Guys, I never thought, believe me when I tell you this, okay? Now, I'm going to bring you back 20 years at least. I never thought in my practice I would ever see a child with type 2 adult onset diabetes, which we all know is sugar diabetes. It's sugar diabetes. But they changed the name so that they wouldn't vilify sugar. So, but I saw it in my office. Children with diabetes, not type 1, not autoimmune where their pancreas isn't working and insulin isn't working. That's type 1. And by the way, a huge link to type 1 diabetes and low levels of vitamin D, which we talked about yesterday. Children with diabetes, type 2. They called it adult onset. Only adults could get it. Here's what we know about children today. Okay? Here's what we know. Obesity rates through the roof. Diabetes in children, type 2, through the roof. And thirdly, fatty liver in children, through the roof. Guys, when I was in school, fatty liver? What is that? Never heard of it. I've heard of cirrhosis of the liver. Alcohol. Oh, but high fructose corn syrup is just like alcohol. It makes a beeline to your liver. And children today, because of our stupidity in the world, substituting a glucose for fructose and a man-made sugar, we got an epidemic today of fatty liver, even in children. I never, ever, ever thought in my lifetime I would ever see anything like it. And then I get politicians getting on and on their high horse, and they're telling us so we're going to throw money at this and we're going to fix it. There'll be no more cancer and no more heart disease and no more diabetes and no more. No. I'm sorry. But we're not even talking about the elephant in the room. We're not talking about it because they can't, the mantra still today is what? Moderation in food. Moderation in food. You need everything. Nah, you really don't. And in this day and age, my word to people, and it was for a lot of years of my practice, was, no, you need to eliminate, not moderate. You're eating in moderation now. You need to eliminate. What? Yeah, you need to eliminate. You and carbs don't get along anymore. You and sugar don't get along. You got a bad relationship. You like it, but it don't like you. It's destroying your health. And what are we going to do about it? Talk about, well, you're an alcoholic. Here's some alcohol, but we'll give it to you in moderation. Nah, that don't work. It's like the drug sites. I see, when they have these drug sites and, that's really going to fix the problem. Here's some more, give yourself an injection. Hello? Anyway, don't get me going on politicians. Throw money, but no common sense. It drives me insane. Gives me a migraine. Okay, guys. Now listen. Some people, and I just want to put this out here because sometimes you're asking questions and look, you know us, we love answering your question, but sometimes if you've got a very specific problem or whatever, send it to us, info@martinclinic.com. Send it to us there. Okay, because what happens sometimes, you get a question and it's only for you really. And I'm not going to deal with it necessarily in a public format. Okay, sometimes I will, but a lot of times you get, you know what? It's not relevant to other people. It's relevant to you, of course. And we want to answer your questions. Don't be shy. Send it to us at info@martinclinic.com. Okay, that will get to me so I can answer your questions. Okay, sometimes it's private. Okay, so you don't have to post everything on the private Facebook group, but you can send it to me at info@martinclinic.com. Okay, info@martinclinic.com. If it's private or whatever, and you want my 2 pennies of an opinion, I got no problem with that. You know how much I love to answer your questions. Okay? Okay, I'm breathing again. Okay, guys, we love you and dearly and sincerely. Talk to you soon.